Okay. My goal, hi guys, good afternoon. It is loud and clear, guys. Can you test it before I proceed, Malu?
Yeah, it's loud and clear.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Josh, and I am the General Manager of IP Systems Inc. My goal with this short presentation is to give you a better idea of who we are as a company and how we differentiate ourselves in the IT local industry. I will also discuss about more in the cybersecurity brands that we carry. Although we all know that the trending topic these days is COVID-19. At the end of the day, cyber threats and vulnerabilities are still part of our reality. And we hope our solution can help you to achieve your cybersecurity goals in your respective companies, specifically in complying with the Data Privacy Act 2012. About IP Systems Inc. IP Systems is a value-added IT distributor. We were incorporated in late 2006, and we started operation last January 2007. We are the exclusive Philippine distributor of at least 6 award-winning and world-class cybersecurity brands from ranging from North America, Europe, and Japan. We are very selective when it comes to who we partner with, and ensure that the brands that we will carry create value to our customer at price points that will appeal to our specific target markets. So, our why are we in business? We are very proud of the fact that we are 100% Filipino-owned company. Ultimately, our purpose in the business is to create a difference and to do our share on contributing to Philippine nation building for our collective future. Naniniwala po kami that the work we do on a daily basis is work that is noble and contributes to our country's growth. Especially during this time of pandemic, we believe this purpose was become even more important. Our vision as a company is to be a thought leader in the Philippine market on a cybersecurity and to be a positive enabler of change in the IT community. We don't see ourselves as just another IT company or as a distributor here in the Philippines. Marami na po nun sa market. Rather, we see our company as a leader in its specific niche and as a platform that enables positive change in the local industry with the work that we do every day. So, our mission is straightforward lang po. Our mission statement is a specific 4-year goal that we have posted on a challenge to ourselves. Actually, nag-start to last year, pa 2020. Our mission is to secure 1,000 Philippine SMEs. As of January of this year, 2021, IP System has more than 600 clients. In 4 years' time, the mission is to expand to 1,000 clients, keeping their data and people safe. All of this we aim to do while adhering our core values. Our core values as a company, we've come up with the acronym of the core values. We believe in IPPSINC. So IPPSINC stands for integrity, people-centered, passion for excellence, service champions, innovative, nation builders, and collaborative. These are the core values that guide our day-to-day tasks and decision when it comes to serving our customers and partners. Speaking of our customers, we've been in the industry more than 14 years now and have a client base that is span across several different verticals. Here are just some examples of our valued clients throughout the years. So we have clients in the government sector, education, hotels and hospitality. We have served clients in the food and beverages, healthcare, manufacturing sectors. So about 90% of our clients are SMEs, yes, which we define as having a 500 or less employee. The other or remaining 10% would be the enterprise clients with typically 1,000 to 3,000 employees and more. As an IT distributor of cybersecurity brands, we actively study the Data Privacy Act so that we can help our clients to comply with the DPA. So it complies with the DPA. Here are the product that we have carry. So we have three main security pillars. We help to secure IT infrastructure, monitoring and remote access. And finally, we have email and data. We have different brands that we cater to each of these security pillars, which I will talk more about in the next slides. So for the solution and compliance with the DPA 2012, as mentioned, we have aligned most of the brands that we have partnered with to the primary technical security requirements of the DPA. These include ability to have access to data backups in case of a physical or a technical incident, process for vulnerability assessment and regular testing, encryption, access control, and of course, we have malware protection, which is our main topic for today's webinar. So our number one is our flagship product is Bitdefender, which we have been carrying as the exclusive Philippine distributor since 2007. Bitdefender is an endpoint security leader. And if mahilig po kayong magbasa ng reviews, so you will see that Bitdefender is consistently ranked as number one globally. So hindi po sa pagyayabang sir and ma'am, talaga pong hindi tayo nawawala sa top 3. As an antivirus solution, Bitdefender complies with the technical security requirements of the DPA. As you can see naman in the slide, including the full disk encryption capability. And we have Active Image Protector, or AIP, is our backup, disaster recovery, and business continuity software solution. This is a product of Actify from Japan. AIP can restore any terrorized data in a split second. Yes, in 1 second, they can restore any terrorized. And restore system as little as 5 minutes using its snapshot technology. Whether data loss due to human error, machine error, or to a cyber attack, Active Image Protector can restore your data from both servers and desktops, either virtual or physical. It also complies with the DPA security requirements of having the capability to restore data in a timely manner. Checkpoint Penetrator is our solution for vulnerability scanning and assessment. This is a European product and it's available either virtual or hardware appliance. This solution simulates how hacker could penetrate in a given system and reveal the vulnerabilities of your entire network so that they are fixed before they can become exploited. This is a plug-and-play appliance, which means it is a very easy to use. It makes use of advanced artificial intelligence, or AI, as part of its technology. The DPA, note guys, the DPA states that the companies are required to have a process for identifying and accessing vulnerabilities in its network and must have a process for regularly testing, assessing, and evaluating the effectiveness of security measures. Checkpoint Penetrator is exactly the solution for that. For the EasyNAC, of course, we have EasyNAC network access control. EasyNAC automatically discover devices, profiles them, and control access to the network without requiring any network changes or agents. It means agentless. So EasyNAC can be deployed with ease to one site or 1,000 sites, which is especially useful in this age of work from home and remote work. This solution can protect your VPN endpoints from unknown threat actors, man-in-the-middle, botnets, etc., by keeping them protected by a NAC agent. As a NAC, or EasyNAC, also complies with the technical security requirements of the DPA, as you can see also in this slide. And TeamViewer, I believe TeamViewer is familiar sa lahat. Actually, hindi naman siya nakastate sa DPA, but TeamViewer is comply on the ISOs, GDPR, yan. So IP Systems is also exclusive Philippine distributor of TeamViewer. And again, we have also a TeamViewer Tensor, which is also for the remote access and support, but targeted towards larger enterprise. Again, in this time of work from home, TeamViewer is an extremely useful solution that each company's data or each company's data center or security operations should be absolutely have. And in addition, for the tensor, the highlights of this feature is they can also recorded all the transaction made using the remote session of the user. Yeah. And for the schools, training centers, and companies, we have Paronics that we have large volumes of PC need to maintain. We have Paronics Defreeze. It's a reboot to restore software which removes any unwelcome or unwanted changes in the computers and automatically restore it to the original state with just one reboot. And we have InfoSec is our new online training solution. Actually, kaka-launch lang din ito last December. It provides certification online-based training courses for security professional and enterprise-grade security awareness and phishing training for businesses, agencies, and technology professionals. InfoSec, Skill, and IQ, these are the products that our clients use to help keep their employee skill sharp and reduce business risk. Each product caters to a different subset of the organization. For example, for the InfoSec, it's for the IT. The InfoSec IQ is for the non-IT. On the left, we have, like I mentioned, it's an InfoSec Skill. It's a role-based cybersecurity training platform that helps your IT and cybersecurity team to skill up, get certified, and stay ahead of technology change. You and your team can train on your own schedule. Take note, you can train on your own schedule with unlimited access to 100 plus of hands-on cybersecurity courses and cyber ranges. Or if you are confident na maipasa lahat, or you can upgrade to bootcamp for the live instructor training so you can 93% pass the international online certification like CEH, so name it. On the right, we have InfoSec IQ, InfoSec award-winning awareness and training solution loaded with over 2,000 resources to help everyone else in your organization to detect, report, and avoid cyber threats like phishing and ransomware. InfoSec IQ delivers the largest and most diverse variety of training content in the industry, including interactive training modules, micro-learning videos, assessments, poster, infographics, campaign kits, and more. Lastly, we have Oxygen, is our email messaging and collaboration solution. For companies with hundreds of users, where paying per mailbox per month is simply not an option, Oxygen is the perfect alternative to that. Oxygen license can either be a perpetual or annual subscription, making it very cost-effective for small and mid-sized companies. At IP Systems, we believe in doing business responsibly. With this presentation, I hope you were able to get to know us better as a company, not only as an IT distributor, but as a cybersecurity company with a vision and mission contribute to our collective future as a Filipino people. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn to read up the latest activities, events, and news about our different brands and solutions. You can also reach us via email, sales@ipsystem.ph or support@ipsystem.ph for any related inquiries. That is my presentation. Stay safe at maraming salamat po.
Thank you,
Hi,
sir.
Malu.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Josh, for a very informative presentation. As mentioned by Sir Josh, we are a value-added and trusted cybersecurity partner of SMEs in the country. We have an extensive line of solutions and services for you, not to mention that we are also 100% Filipino-owned. Before we move on to the next speaker, we would like to remind everyone to please put yourselves on mute. Now, to give us an overview and demo of Bitdefender Ultra Security, its features, benefits, and how it can help your remote workforce stay safe from cyber attacks, here are the Business Development Manager of Bitdefender for the Asia Pacific region, Mr. Alexandru Ionestico, and Ms. Alexandra Sulunach, Bitdefender's Sales Engineer. If you have any questions, we would be more than happy to answer them after the presentation and demo of Bitdefender Ultra Security. You can ask our experts later by typing your questions on the chat box. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. I hope everyone is able to hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, that's perfect. So my name is Alexandru Ionicescu. Thank you for the introduction. I'm a business development manager for Bitdefender for APAC region, and I've been in various roles in Bitdefender in the past 7 years across multiple regions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce also my colleague Alexandra Sulunacht, which is a sales engineer, and she will be joining me on this presentation after a few introductory slides and a bit of discussion about the work from home environment. So if we can skip to the next slide. Next, please. Okay, so who is Bitdefender? Bitdefender is a technology company and a global cybersecurity innovator. In numbers, 38% of cybersecurity companies use Bitdefender. That's right, 38% of global cybersecurity companies use our engines. And as we will see a bit later in the presentation, there are really big names here. Some of them we are allowed to disclose and some of them we are not allowed. But I can tell you that there are some big names from Silicon Valley. Some of them start with F, some of them start with G. And on top of that, a lot of cybersecurity companies are using our engines. As you could see, more than half of our employees work in R&D, in research and development and engineering. And more than 25% of our revenues go into the moonshot projects. So we are always aiming to develop new technologies and innovative technologies, of course. We have more than 300 patents at the moment. Recently, we opened a Security Operations Center, which is located in United States. And from there, we hired intelligence agencies, specialists and Army veterans in cybersecurity in order to provide to our customers managed detection and response. If we could go to the next one, please. Like I was saying earlier, we have more than 300 patents and more than 10% are in machine learning. And if you can see the timeline from 2008 until 2020, all the mentioned technologies are innovative and they were developed first by Bitdefender. We were the first one to launch a hardware appliance for IoT security, which is called Bitdefender Box. We were the first ones which were adding the first tunable machine learning with the hybrid detect, and the first ones which work with Citrix, Linux, and Linux Foundation and Intel, in order to develop a technology, a unique technology that works at the hypervisor level below the operating system, which is called hypervisor introspection. Along with these breaking technologies, we have many more, and you will see a big part of them in the presentation to come. Next one, please. Okay, so here is the AV comparative tests from 2018 to 2020. You could see how Bitdefender is scoring. Just to let you know, this is an independent test. It's not a question about bribing the results or anything like that. There are big names here that probably have more money than Bitdefender has, so there isn't a question about the results not being real. This is an independent test from Austria, and we have another one from Germany. If anyone is interested, you can check them. They have the links. Also there you could see how many of the cybersecurity companies are using Bitdefender engines, because there is a lot of info on this guy's website. Next one, please. As I was saying earlier, 38% of all global cybersecurity vendors are using Bitdefender, winning technologies. You could see a couple of them below, like Juniper Networks, Netgear, FireEye, and so on and so forth. We have more than 500 million users worldwide. And due to these users, we have a very rich intelligence, because we, by licensing our technology, we use also these companies and their sensors in order to provide us with a lot of useful data. Next one, please. These are some of the awards and the quotes from the technology tests, like Gartner, Forrester, AV comparatives, AV tests I was saying earlier. Can we go to the next one, please? I want to skip this part because we don't have a lot of time, so I want to go faster over it. These are some of the partners we have and some of the big customers. Yamaha Motors, Honeywell, Mentor Graphics, TUI, the traveling agency, and we are partnering against crime with FBI, Department of Justice, Europol, Interpol. This partnership led to the closure of one of the biggest dark websites 2 years back. The article is public. Bitdefender was the only vendor which participated in this forensics and analysis. We are constantly consulted by these organizations due to our rich data. Also, we are partnered with Citrix, Amazon Web Services, Nutanix, Microsoft VMware, and it's not just saying that we are partners with them. With some of them, we have unique features, like we were the first ones to be integrating with the VMware NA60, and together with Citrix, we developed that unique solution for the hypervisor because they were kind enough to open the hypervisor for us. Also with Nutanix, we are Nutanix ready among a few cybersecurity vendors which work in hyper-converged infrastructures. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so we ended up to discuss a bit about work from home, right? And when we discuss about working from home, we have to take into consideration 3 major factors. And the first one is the human factor. And as you could see, we are not built for online environments. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the amygdala. The amygdala is a collection of cells near the base of our brain. And this is where emotions are given meaning, remembered, and they're attached to associations and responses to them, emotional memories. Let's call it emotional memories. This is not an anatomy lesson or a psychology lesson, but the amygdala is considered to be part of the to process strong emotions like fear and pleasure. And early humans were exposed to the constant threat of being killed or injured by wild animals or other tribes. To improve these chances of survival, the fight or flight response evolved. And it's an automatic response to physical danger that allows us to react quickly without thinking. Now, when we feel threatened or afraid, this amygdala automatically activates the fight or flight response at the back of our brains and is sending signals to release some stress hormones that prepare our body to fight or to run away. As examples, thousands of years back, when we were seeing a large animal, a black animal with huge teeth and claws, probably we learned and we evolved not to face it and to run away. Then after some time, we learned that if a very beautiful woman invites you in a dark alley, maybe you should not go. So this constantly evolves and passing through DNA. But there is one major problem here. Amygdala doesn't work in an online environment because it cannot register what it cannot see. We are at home, we are with friends, with family, we are staying cozy, and the amygdala does not trigger. It doesn't trigger when you click on a certain link. It doesn't trigger when you receive a certain email which has some misplaced letters in the body of it. It doesn't trigger in any of this situation. So human factor remains the weakest link in all cybersecurity space, and we all know that. There are tremendous amounts of software which are trying to help organizations to give certain tests to humans and to make them aware of the dangers that are in an online environment. However, social engineering remains one of the biggest ways for hackers to exploit humans. Now, the second one is data. When we talk about data, we know that data at the moment it surpassed the value of resources like gold or oil, and all modern business run on data. So the need to understand and maximize its value will only grow more imperative. Now, if we look at the big companies, Facebook, Amazon, let's say Netflix, all these businesses have essentially, they rely on data, and it's a precious raw material for them. But there are more traditional business also which are harnessing the value of data. And these businesses are gas and oil industry, like according to a World Economic Forum report, digital transformation will add around 1.7 trillion of value to the oil and gas industry by 2025. And when we look at data, we have to look at the IT departments, which are wasting money and time on elaborating exercises to determine their needs 3 to 5 years from now, culminating in expensive hardware and software investments. And there is a problem here because there is a gap between near-term priorities of CIOs and vice presidents of infrastructures, according to Gartner. The CIO's goal is to grow revenue, while the infrastructure group focuses on cutting costs. So this gap is widening year after year. And it sounds easy, but it's not. And both these agendas can be addressed actually by removing the limitation of traditional hardware. By removing this limitation and by not looking at traditional solutions, software solutions, which are encumbering the hardware and the servers, we can achieve a flexible infrastructure that accommodates fluctuating and unpredictable workloads. More and more companies are moving to virtualized environments or to cloud. And software-defined storage and networks are both well established in modern data centers and in the cloud. Now, when we are discussing about the threat actors or the hackers, I would like to call them, every year has its own team with a soundtrack that we keep hearing on repeat. And this year is the coronavirus. Previous years were dominated by ransomware, banking trojans, and even exploits that wreaked havoc, like the global pandemic has been the perfect catalyst for cybercriminals to dress up their threats with clothes of panic, fear, and information manipulation. As the year began and the number of affected countries and people peaked in early March, threat actors seized the opportunity to exploit this topic, coronavirus topic, by focusing less on malware sophistication and more on carefully planning malware serving campaigns that selectively target specific regions and countries. And there is no surprise that these specific regions and countries were the ones which were hardly hit by the coronavirus. So this coronavirus team malware, phishing, and even walling attacks were increased, with 1 in 4 organizations concerned that cybercriminals will target employees now working from home. More than 1 in 3 InfoSec professionals, they worry that employees are feeling more relaxed about security issues because of their surroundings, of course. In contrast, others say employees may not be sticking to protocol, and it's always easy to blame the employees, especially in terms of identifying and flagging suspicious activity. But as we discussed before taking the human factor into consideration. That's very hard to do. Another 40% say that employees using untrusted networks pose a risk to their organization, and 38% believe that there is an absolute risk in another person having access to an employee company device. If we can move further, sorry, we were over this slide, so the next one, please. Okay, so what can organizations do that they haven't already done? Well, IT and security teams need to assess their resources and project how much strain they need to support to enable remote employees to work in optimal conditions, and assess what kind of risk needs to be factored and addressed. Now, on this slide, you have a couple of technologies. This will be further on explained by my colleague Alexandra Sulunact, but just to stay a bit here a bit more, I would like to say that sending out rules and guidelines to employees regarding accepted applications and collaborative platforms is necessary. It's mandatory. Deploying network security monitoring and logging tools can also help make sure that IT and security teams are notified whenever untrusted connections or unauthorized applications might be spotted, so they can quickly block them. Reviewing security policies should also be a priority, as some might not apply when employees are fully remote and they are no longer behind enterprise-grade network appliances, firewalls, and so on and so forth. Hardening technologies are extremely important, such as patch management and file encryption. These technologies, they used to be used only for compliance, as in the past, perimeter security was primarily used to reduce the attack surface. But in a post-coronavirus world, companies need to start looking more serious and assess their security offerings for more than just anti-malware and threat prevention technologies. But they also have to look for endpoint hardening, and they have to have a look at endpoint detection and response. Perhaps now it's the time to review your security offering and enable some of these technologies that you didn't pay too much attention to before. That said, some organization may end up with overburdened and overworked IT and security teams. And that's a major, it's a major problem. It has been signaled in the past years by all the major report vendors like Gartner, Forrester, and so on and so forth. And here is where the managed service providers can offer their services and be more effective in terms of both time to implement and effectiveness. So this also can be a model. Of course, managed detection and response that I mentioned in the early slides. These services can help with threat hunting, especially under work from home scenarios, where the infrastructure might be more vulnerable to outside attacks. These cybersecurity teams are very skilled. They can help devise security strategies, and they can deploy the right threat hunting tools to spot any potential sign of a data breach. And if you're thinking about the costs, that's not something that it's addressed only to high-grade enterprises. Bitdefender has a lot of customers also in the SMB area for managed detection and response. There are several packages. So your business can now get access to the best security experts while keeping some operational costs down. That would be my part. I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar, and I will let my colleague Alexandra to continue. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Alex. I can hear myself. I was going to confirm first that I can be heard. I'm not sure why I can hear my voice, so if someone can mute, that would be great. Okay. Thank you, Alex. So I will do my part in terms of taking you to the practical side around GravityZone, respectively the endpoint, the cloud, and the network space. Of course, the bundle that we will mainly focus during this session pertains to Ultra Security or GravityZone Ultra Security, and particularly the Ultra Plus bundle. And of course, our proud award of providing, or let's say receiving, great independent testing feedback and reviews from AV tests and AV comparatives. So when we focus on Ultra, we would expect, okay, so this means that we would cover only the endpoint side of entities like physical and virtual machines. I must confirm with you that is much more than that, as we are, like I mentioned, covering the cloud and the network space. Of course, we will mention the fact that we have top class prevention technologies in terms of detecting threats, of course, threats that are related to advanced persistent threats or any kind of advanced attack that would be held by a hacker or a set of hackers in a hacktivist group, if I may say. So we tackle different, let's say, attack surfaces that involve a particular company that would be under attack. And at the same time, we use or we take advantage of specific kinds of tools when it comes to the detection itself, as well as providing with security administrators with the ability to take actions and to understand really what went wrong and what happened during the breach. And of course, if the breach was already handled by our technologies, or there are situations where administrators are expected to perform their own actions in their own pace, at their own pace, actually. And the third most critical component of Ultra Security in this slide is related to the way in which we minimize hackers' potential to targeting endpoints that have not been patched, they have not been, let's say, revised, they were not handled in the way they should have, given the fact that we may be looking at critical servers or any kind of node or, let's say, asset in the company that is used mainly or primarily for high availability. So servers are usually the actual main, let's say, source in which hackers would like to sniff for, learn about, and also compromise. So it's very important to take into account hardening the actual critical assets of your organization. The features are very important to get accustomed to, because of course we do cover different types of spaces in the endpoint, the cloud, the network, and the email. However, if we specifically look at Ultra Security, there's more than what meets the eye in terms of what would be the prevention technologies behind the prevention detection of malware and different kind of sophisticated attacks, and moving on towards the detection response from EDR, as well as hardening and risk analytics, and what will be the technologies behind those that space. So these are basically included in Ultra Security, and believe me, they're very easy to implement, they're very easy to deploy, to activate and install and manage from the endpoint security policy of our platform. And basically, you will be able to see results on the side of EDR from the moment you flip that switch open and it's up and running and fully monitoring your endpoint. From workstations to servers, from Windows to Mac OS and Linux operating systems. We would say Linux distributions like CentOS, Red Hat, Ubuntu, Debian, and so on and so forth. This is a quick sneak peek as to what you could expect on the side of detection and response. Of course, it is very important to highlight our prevention technologies, but that is something of the past. That's something already normal to have. But as Alex mentioned, if we look towards the future, if we work with what's shifting in the market, we have to also provide visibility no matter where you are in the world. So you can, let's say, be part of an organization that is basically enforcing the policy of work from anywhere. Of course, work from home is the current normal, but we can expect that at some point in the future, we will have the work from anywhere, which means that no matter where you are, you will have the agent with you. You will have our technologies with you during your, let's say, remote visits. In this case here, we have a snapshot from my own console. This is highlighting the capabilities of EDR. Of course, EDR is much more than an event correlator at the pre-execution or post-execution stage, but this goes to show that we are already, or we have already shifted to user behavior, human behavior analytics, which means that we are not only taking into account the detection that takes place on the side of our prevention technologies like anti-malware or network attack defense, which is our HIPS module. We're also looking towards the behavior of a respective user, because as you can imagine, each user manifests differently, let's say browses the internet differently, and uses tools from the operating systems differently. So we don't make any judgment. We don't, have any discriminations. We're just here to show you what is going on and what happened. For example, for the PowerShell, as you can see here, this was used to be able to launch a specific malware. And of course, this behavior was picked up by EDR. So we have an EDR specific detection as mentioned in this slide. And of course, MITRE, which is also something that we are working with in terms of evaluating our, let's say, sensor in EDR, and at the same time providing results and enabling us to participate in specific APT attacks in which we have so far shown a great value for, and we've received great feedback from MITRE. Of course, you can Google MITRE and you will get more details regarding the evaluation that was performed on Bitdefender, which scored very, very well, almost 100%. That was the side of endpoint and EPP and EDR. Now we're down to data center and cloud. As Alex mentioned, companies are slowly shifting to the cloud space. They're basically making so that they will feel confident in terms of storing their data in the cloud. But that's where we come in and say, hey, we integrate with clouds. We're able to provide protection for cloud environments like AWS, and of course, soon to be Azure, as well as any other cloud platform that I have not mentioned, because we will protect the entities that are part of that cloud space. And of course, our awarded Forrester Wave leadership in cloud workload security in Q4 2019, which was not very long ago. How does it work? It's very simple. You would expect that in any environment, you would have a hypervisor. In the case of cloud, you're basically using the cloud's resources to be able to spawn machines, move machines, migrate machines, and so on and so forth. But in the case of Bitdefender, we will protect you no matter in which environment you are, if it's an on-premises environment, if it's public cloud environment. We have a specific component here known as the Security Server Appliance, or the SVA. This is a virtual component that is able to perform offload scanning of your VMs no matter where they are. Basically, it uses its own resources to perform different kinds of scanning capabilities without requiring any resource from the VMs themselves. This can prevent AV storms. This can, of course, improve the overall workload of your environments themselves, because we basically use one security server appliance to be able to scan up to maybe 200 VMs. So you'll have 200 VMs or 200 concurrent connections to a SVA for offload scanning. And of course, as we shift even deeper into the subject, I've mentioned offloaded scanning. It gets the intelligence that it needs from our cloud services. And of course, the man in the middle would be the GravityZone Cloud or the on-premises console itself. And this basically will allow the security server to know exactly what to expect in terms of what will be the latest threat. And at the same time, it would share its own technologies with the VMs that it is connected to during offloaded scanning. And it's very easy to enable the functionality called BEST central scanning. BEST would be our light agent that you would have deployed on each virtual machine in question. And of course, there is redundancy in SVA, meaning that you can deploy more than one SVA in any given environment, host, hypervisor, and so on and so forth. If we go even more in depth, of course, this is the last part of SVA. Of course, how does it actually work? It's using a central caching system in between the SVA and the VMs. This allows the security server appliance to know exactly which files have already been scanned on more than one endpoint. We're talking about 200 endpoints or virtual machines. And this would be the factor and reason why we have the solution to prevent AV storms because of this, because of the modality of using our technologies when it comes to sharing info between the SVA and the machines, and how the machines would basically communicate with the security server appliance regarding the files that have already been scanned and which files have just been modified, maybe by a potential threat, or they were modified as per the policy, or they just need to be checked again. And this can, of course, greatly, let's say, in a positive manner, impact the load on the CPU, the RAM, the input-output, and the network load. Login VSI, they have tested the way in which we use security server appliances in different kinds of virtualized environments, targeting VDI sessions per host. And as you can see here, if you use our very own central scanner or security server appliance, you will see a specific increase in performance. And in this case here, you'll be able to spawn more virtual machines without having to increase the hardware on your host. And as you can see here with other competitors, of course, we have the side of NSX. This is because we integrate with an NSX and they use their own specific tools like VMware tools, as well as any drivers or APIs that are required within the NSX environment to be able to integrate with GravityZone. So here we will say it's a 50-50 because it's not really up to GravityZone. We provide the SVE or the security server appliance, but it's also working with what VMware has in their own environment to make it work. So it's not in particular only reliant on GravityZone here. As well as the competitors, you'll see a decrease in the amount of machines that you can spawn with the same hardware resources per host. VDIs, what are they used for? Primarily for application virtualization, for anything that would involve using tools, as well as anything that would be part of the company's mission, if I may say. And here you will see that the impact on the application response is much less if you were to look at using a security server appliance. Whereas on the other competitors, we see more time spent on the use and the response of specific applications. Okay, that was the side of cloud and data center. Now we are going to do a quick sneak peek on the network side. We do have plans when it comes to having extended visibility when it comes to specific environments. Of course, take into account work from home, work from anywhere. new normal. This is a reference of an architecture that would, I can hear myself. So this is basically take into account all of the above, the option D when you're doing multiple choice questions or quizzes. Basically, this is everything from clouds, on-prem, remote, enterprise-specific, IoT, bring your own devices. And so far, we have a product on the side of the network. Of course, we're slowly shifting to integrate both of them to have EPP, EDR, and XDR. Of course, there's more news to come. This is not official. This is to let you know that we are aware of the way in which we can expect specific attacks occurring during the pandemic, which is, of course, the fuel for hacktivist groups or cyber criminals, if we may say it. And for now, we have the use of NTSA that can be used together with EDR from Ultra Security, also known as Ultra Plus. And hopefully somewhere in the future, we'll also have our own technologies to address these challenges so that we can provide visibility to companies that are working and, of course, have or manage multiple offices all around the world, of course, including IP systems, including the dearest of partners and resellers and customers of IP systems. I mentioned about human risk analytics, a quick sneak peek, the most important and essential hardening component in GravityZone that is, of course, already included in Ultra Security bundle. This is a quick sneak peek as to how we have basically implemented a single module, take into account that there are specific human-like behaviors in the IoT space or in the SMB space or in the enterprise space that goes to show how easy it is to fix or to understand these associated risks behind the changing of a password. So sometimes when you are trying to understand what went wrong with a breach, sometimes you have to look at the, let's say, fundamental part of the investigation. It's as if I were to say to you, okay, your router is not working. You're not able to access the internet. What is your first instinct? Oh, I must check the settings. Maybe the IP address and the subnet and the gateway and the let's say DNS related setting was not properly configured, right? So you start looking into the hard or the most complex scenario. But maybe if you would have just restarted or rebooted the router physically, this may have made it so that it would work and then it would not put you through advanced research, right? So in this scenario here, sometimes you have to look at the easiest part of a problem or the most, let's say, humane part of the problem, because sometimes we just don't use or we don't enforce or require specific, passwords with numbers, with lowercase, uppercase characters, with symbols, right? So we have to tackle the easiest part to be able to understand and get to the hardest part of the solution. So it's a saying, you have to, it's the theory of elimination that's applied to mathematics, I guess, or any kind of logical person would do that. You basically, before you get to the, let's say, source of the problem, you have to first go through some steps. Did you check this? Did you check that? Have you tried to restart the machine? Have you not? And stuff like that. So it's very important to, let's say, tackle the problem by going through some steps and organizing your troubleshooting. And with that, we will go into the demo. Of course, we have exactly 30 more minutes, which is perfect. Hopefully, we will have time for Q&As. And at the same time, I will show you quickly a very particular attack RDP, brute force based attack, that's occurring on attacker machine, and of course, therefore, exposing the victim machine to a breach. And for this matter, I just need to access my Kali Linux machine. I will tell you what's with this one afterwards, the SXI host. Just a moment. So the Kali Linux machine will be used to take advantage of the fact that the Windows 7 machine, being the victim machine, has RDP enabled, and this would allow the hacker machine to be able to steal the credentials and also brute force the victim machine and log in with the credentials that was stolen. Of course, in my case, I currently have Bitdefender installed. It's just that I have configured it to report only because I want to show you the advanced capabilities of a very simple attack, and at the same time also having visibility on the side of Bitdefender and EDR respectively. So let's just wait a bit. We should have the agent showing up. This is also something very important to mention. Bitdefender is basically very easy to deploy, and usually one agent is required to be able to manage the endpoint centrally from your own GravityZone platform. And if I just do an app whiz, you will see that us, in comparison with competitors, we just need one agent. That's it. It's an EDR integrated agent with all of the prevention and hardening modules enabled. And you can see here our prevention technologies, from on access to ransomware mitigation to the side of the, let's say, traffic inspection, application control. I would say DLP-like features, not in the fullest, as well as host-based intrusion prevention system. And our favorite subject of today, the EDR sensor, which is installed and enabled. Without further ado, I will, of course, access a specific location, and we will launch the brute force attack, which will pretty much occur within seconds. So it will take advantage of the fact that the 3389 port or protocol for RDP is enabled, and voila, my credentials, the credentials of the Windows 7 machine were, of course, exposed. We have the test, which is the login of the admin account, as well as the password. And if we go here on the side of Bitdefender, we should be able to have a specific detection. If not, don't worry. We will check that out in a few moments. Actually, the detection, if I may reset the filters, the detection should be related to the fact that network attack defense has detected the fact that there was an RDP brute force based attack. Let's check on the side of GravityZone. Well, the actual EDR related event is correlated and basically imported in the incidents section of the GravityZone console. And if I may, I can maybe show you the actual, yes. So this is the incident, which was correlated by EDR. There was a detection that took place by network attack defense, and it involved a specific internal IP address of my victim machine, the one that ends with 129. And of course, the fact that it was an RDP brute force based attack, and it will actually tell you what would be the recommended steps to perform as, let's say, a remediation action or as a precautionary action when it comes to trying to avoid these kinds of attacks from occurring again, because as you can imagine, this is something alarming. However, it's always good to check that there isn't a particular payload on the environment itself that a hacker may be using to launch a specific attack, like a reverse shell attack. And of course, the details regarding the URL or the, let's say, IP address of the victim machine that the hacker tried to compromise. Of course, we have a specific report that can provide you with more details. Network incidents, I will just say last 2 months, let's hope for the best, in which it will tell you the IP address of the hacker machine. So there you go. If you can see, you have the Windows 7 machine with the internal IP address of this, the name of the company in GravityZone, because we're talking about the GravityZone Cloud company, the detection name, the attack technique that was used for the specific breach, and of course the IP address of the hacker machine, which in this case is the Kyle Linux machine. We can do an if config, and it will tell us that this is for the first interface, the 138. On the side of Bitdefender, of course, it was configured to report only, and this is why there were no actions taken during that time. The actual RDP brute force-based attack would imply the Windows operating system itself. For Mac OS and Linux, there are different types of attacks, advanced attacks that would be pretty severe, if you ask me, because Mac OS systems are much more hardened than Windows systems. Of course, don't take my word for it. Check it out, and you'll see that this info is true, and Linux as well. But even though they're more hardened, it doesn't mean that they are not, let's say, subject to attacks. We would say that in the world of cyber attacks, the most commonly breached systems are Windows systems. And there's much more than just what I've shown you. Of course, if you have Linux systems, you have here, could you please mute yourself? Thank you. So here is a site of Linux systems, and this is where I've launched a payload. This payload was used to allow the Kali Linux machine to basically take full control of the system. So it's actually pretty, how shall I say it? Pretty
Hello,
Alexandra, you are on mute.
Yeah.
Have I been on mute? Thank you. So yeah, I wanted to mention the fact that we have a filtering system that allows us to better associate specific prevention-based technologies that have detected a specific file or process. And there's another section in which we have EDR-specific detections, which is, of course, this behavior in which EDR has detected the fact that there was a user-based behavior that was trying to delete itself and also try to steal information and, of course, have it may be uploaded to a different server that would be outside of the environment. Of course, for Linux, it's a bit more advanced. If we go to another example on the side of Windows 7, I wanted to basically test the Process Hacker. The Process Hacker is a third-party tool that is malicious for some, useful for others, that perform specific kind of testing. On the side of Bitdefender, we do not permit the use of Process Hacker because basically it can be used to disable certain components from an anti-malware solution and then do its bidding when it comes to, doing malicious operations on the endpoint itself. So I was not even able to access the website that distributes Process Hacker from GitHub, which is, of course, crazy if you ask me, because GitHub is the is the open source for different kinds of dev and QA tools. So you can imagine you can find a lot of stuff there. But Process Hacker was blocked nevertheless, and it provides you with the remediation actions to make sure that everything around Process Hacker is non-existent on the machine. However, that's not really necessary because I wasn't even able to download the file. So that's how great our prevention technologies are in that case. And yes, let's quickly go to the side of NTSA. Of course, until NTSA will be discontinued at some point in the future, we don't have too many details about that, but so far it works. I have basically a specific component that allows me to monitor IoT devices. IoT devices that are not in particular protected by the agent because they don't have a supported operating system. And in this case, we have this guy here, which basically does the magic in terms of providing you with visibility. We will have a version 2 network probe in the near future. I hope this year, we're not too sure. However, this sets an example when it comes to having monitored agentless protection for your devices that are in the same network or environment. Of course, there's specific settings that you need to make on the side of the physical switch when you're using the physical switch in your virtual environment by the host. In this case, I have basically one virtual switch, which I allow to provide me with my flow data. Hence, if you can see on the top of this Bitdefender probe CLI, we have the total flows being 200. I must have more. I don't have so much here because I'm not doing anything with my virtual machine. But this is the separate console for the side of the network. And maybe if we are lucky, I can maybe try to do a test on the Windows 7 machine. Maybe a simple, just a second. A single ping, maybe to this external address. And of course, if we can see visibility on the side of the network probe, we can even do a test with the Tor browser. If you're curious as to what NTSA will detect and report, I just need to first open the Tor browser. And I'll take you to a specific section known as categories. I hope you, ladies and gentlemen, can see this right here. These are the specific types of threats that we look for through NTSA. That includes the custom blacklists, to the Tor, to the exfiltration, the stealing of data from a compromised endpoint, to RAT, or remote administration tool, used to access the system through remote applications illegally or without the user's permission or attention. And of course, port scan. So you have everything on the side of network when it comes to visibility. And hopefully I will be able to just open the Tor browser several times. So what would this do? This will basically trigger the NTSA to report the fact that an IOC has taken place because of the fact that the victim machine is accessing a specific relay server or set of relay servers when accessing the Tor browser. And hopefully, if I do that several times, we will have some addresses that have been blacklisted by our threat intelligence. Let me see if I can check the alerts history. So we have here some anomalies. This is normal because we're connecting to Google DNS, but this can easily be whitelisted, meaning that you will not be able to see the actual incidents that are not of your own interest to avoid alert fatigue and also differentiate between safe operations and malicious operations. We will refresh, and if nothing yet, we will, of course, try again with the Tor browser. Let me check in the meantime if we have any questions. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know. If not, we'll wait to see if we get any events on the site. So basically, I did have an incident that was reported by NTSA on the 24th of November, but it's basically a similar occurrence because you will see here the IP address of the, let's say, victim machine, as well as the relay server that the Tor browser is trying to access for anonymity. And of course, the port, which is basically us knowing about the fact that there is a secure connection to the relay server to be able to use the Tor browser and browse anonymously. I did get some questions. What's the memory footprint for Bitdefender comparing to other AV? Okay, that's a great question. We, of course, since we do cover all types of endpoints in different kinds of environments, physical, virtual, we tackle any kind of operating system ranging from Windows, Mac OS to Linux. We will not say that we have something that's written down in terms of the real values of the memory footprint for all endpoints, because each endpoint has its own role, each endpoint has its own set of resources, each endpoint functions in its own way or manner. For a fact, the memory footprint on my own laptop, for example, is very stable and within normal circumstances. We have info on the memory or the expected memory consumption of Bitdefender in our installation guide that you can check out. Of course, IP Systems can supply you with this info as they're our most trusted partner in Asia Pacific. And of course, you will see that each environment will behave differently, which is why it's very hard for us to give you an exact example. But the memory footprint for a standard, normal, within working parameters should be fine in terms of the memory footprint. There should be no issues. I have the next question. Would there be stress with the machine with multiple attacks? Another great question. Of course, another question that is situational. From my side, I've performed an attack on a Windows 7 machine, and it has, of course, 2 gigs of RAM, and of course, it's sharing the processor, but I've given it 2 cores from my VMware workstation setting. And if we look into the task manager, the CPU usage, if we look at the CPU, the system idle process, which is normal for task manager, and then we have here so you will see that the memory on our services is within 425K memory, but look at the physical memory, it's 75% and I'm at 2 gigs of RAM. So maybe you can tell the difference, that it's not resource hungry as you may expect it to be, since it's a fully integrated EPP EDR agent. But for the side of the multiple attacks, I don't see, well, there are specific crypto mining attacks that may hog the resources of the endpoint, but that would be related to the attack itself and not GravityZone and the Bitdefender agent. Are the capabilities of the solution the same if installed on a server machine and a normal end user machine? So I think the main drive of Bitdefender is to provide parity for all systems involved, but we must take into account the role of each system itself, as well as what would be the main purpose and what kind of attacks that specific machine would be exposed to. Of course, there is not full parity across operating systems, but we do have, or there are, let's say, plans to add or shift or basically make it so that as much of the systems are as least compromised as possible. It's a difficult situation here because there are priorities. We are trying to work and let's say adapt to the shifting market for all, let's say, parts of the world: US, Western Europe, Middle East, Asia Pacific, Australia, and so on and so forth. But of course, as soon as we have details of what we've added, we will be able to inform you officially. Are they? Thank you. All right. I hope we have other questions. If not, I will check. We have news, great news, ladies and gentlemen. We have the established connection through Tor from the victim machine to the relay server. We have a relay server, which is, of course, part of the stream1.grajevo.com for port 9001. So we're looking at a lot of relay servers. So for example, I am situated in Bucharest, Romania, together with Alex. And if I were to connect to the Tor network, it would take me to different parts of Europe, Germany, Austria, France. It will take you to the next available server to be able to encrypt your connection to a specific, let's say, website. But basically, this is the info that you would get on the side of NTSA. And this can be a SOC team specific kind of activity, or it can be a group of IT professionals that are specialized in cybersecurity and understand, and at the same time tackle the kind of attack in time before you have it exposed or it has your entire environment exposed to the threat. But yes, so that's how easy it is to have visibility on the side of the endpoint and on the side of the cloud and on the side of the network. And if you're curious about the GravityZone environment and the the security server appliance, we're talking about this guy here. It's a virtual machine that's based off of Ubuntu Linux, and I can just open it for you quickly because we have 6 more minutes left. And I will show you as to how this very important component for cloud workload protection works and is deployed in my environment. Personally, I would always prefer Linux over Windows systems. However, sometimes you have to use a bit of both. Very easy to enter. So basically, you configure it as if it was your own virtual machine, and it's called Bitdefender Security for Virtualized Environments. And of course, it is should be actively up and running and visible on the side of GravityZone. I didn't open it in quite a while, but as soon as it is opened, it will start getting the threat intelligence from our cloud servers. it's already available. And the setting, if you have an agent that's already, so let's say you want to start using the security server, all you have to do is right click an endpoint that's protected by Bitdefender, configure clients, and you go to scan mode and you apply central scan, and you will choose your central scanner, which is my security server appliance. Once you're done, you're going to hit save, and that's it. You will get offloaded scanning guaranteed, and it will improve the performance of your endpoint. Do we have any other questions, ladies and gentlemen, before we conclude? In that case, Miss Evangelista.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.